In this video, we're going to talk about parameters in functions, how they work, how you define them, how they're used. And so I've defined a function that is named double num, and it takes 3 arguments, and I've given them variable names of value 1, value 2, and value 3. Now what the function does in its instructions, right, in the body of the function, is first it creates a new array, and in that array we have the 3 values, whatever they are. Secondly, there's a loop. Here's the loop, and the loop goes through the new array, and for each thing in it, for each value, it changes the value of that item to that item plus itself. And so it changes it in the array, and at the end it returns the array, and the array is going to have the 3 new values inside it. So when we call that, we can mix numbers and strings in the arguments that we give to a function. Now, whether both strings and numbers work depends on the instructions in the function. In this case, it will work, so I'm going to hit return to run this. And as expected, an array has been returned to us. The array has the 3 new values, each of which is a doubling of what were given as arguments when the function was called. So eggs became eggs, eggs, 2 became 4, and 10 became 20. I want to show you how functions work if you don't pay attention to the parameters that are in the function definition. So this function, double num, has 3 parameters, right? And when we called it this time, we gave it 3 arguments. All right, so what if we gave it 4 arguments? What if we gave it an extra number at the end? And I hit return to run it. What is returned in this case is exactly the same as the previous time, right? 3, the same 3. So even though I gave it a 4th argument, because the function only has 3 parameters, this 4th argument that I gave it when I ran it, it's just ignored. You don't get an error. It doesn't tell you, hey, you gave me an extra argument. It just runs it and ignores your 4th one. What if the opposite, you don't give it enough arguments? So instead of giving it an extra one, instead of giving it the right amount of arguments, I'm only going to give it 1 argument. It expects 3, and I'm only giving it 1. So I hit return. And again, I don't get an error, but I get values in my final array, the array that was returned, that show that nothing valid was given. And it's actually the value nan, N-A-N. It means not a number. So it doesn't even say you didn't give me a legitimate value when you ran the function. It just puts something in there. So it's important to coordinate when you've written a function, how many parameters does it expect, and give it the number that it expects when you run it. Whether you're giving it Boolean values, numbers, strings, that depends on the way the function was written. So if you wanted this to be a string, and this to be a number, and this to be true or false, the way you use them inside the function determines whether that works or not. Now, in addition to the type, the data type of the variables, the order also matters. So I've written a different function here to indicate that to you. So this is maybe something that would be running in a game where you have a level of magic or an amount of magic, your character does, and your enemy has a level, like a strength level or a level to be resistant to magic. So every one of the if clauses here tests the level of your enemy and your amount of magic. And if the enemy is really strong, greater than 10, and your magic is less than 5, you're going to get this message, and so on. So I've tested 3 conditions where the level is greater than 10, the level of your enemy, greater than 5, and this one we didn't have to test because this would be 5 or less for your enemy, and if your magic is greater than 0, you're okay, but else your magic is 0 or less, then you get this answer. So I want to show you how the order matters, the order of your arguments, because the function expects magic to be first and the level of your enemy to be second. So if I do check magic, I run this function, and I have my level of magic is 3, my magic is 3, and my enemy's strength is 12, I get this message. My magic is too weak, so apparently I can't win. But if I reverse those 2 numbers, saying my magic is 12, because magic is the first one, and the enemy's level is 3, because that's the second one, I get an entirely different answer. So the order of your arguments must always match the order of your parameters in the function definition.